We all go through moments where we feel like time has slipped away. We've faced challenges, setbacks, and losses. It's easy to look at the past year and think that it was all for nothing. But what if those moments, those challenges, were part of something bigger, something greater than we could see at the time? Here's the truth. God doesn't waste any year, any moment, or any experience. Everything you've been through has led you to this very moment. And no matter how much you may feel like time was lost, God has the power to restore every year, every setback, and every mistake you think you've made. Today, we're going to explore how faith, trust, and perseverance can bring us back from the places we thought were wasted, how we can turn the pain of the past into the purpose of the future, and most importantly, how we can believe with confidence that God will restore your wasted year. God's ability to redeem time is a profound truth that we often overlook in the hustle of our lives. We look at lost opportunities, wasted years, and unfulfilled dreams, and we begin to believe that time is something we can never get back. But God, in his infinite power and wisdom, transcends the limitations of time as we understand it. The Bible teaches us that God is not bound by time. He operates outside of its constraints. What we perceive as a wasted moment is not lost to him. Every second, every year, every experience is part of his divine plan for our lives. Think about it. The moments that feel wasted, those years that seem unproductive, are not beyond his reach. God can redeem those moments in ways we cannot even imagine. He can take what we see as broken or incomplete and restore it, making it whole again. This is not just about restoring what was lost in terms of success or achievements. It's about bringing meaning and purpose to every experience, even those that seem to have no value at all. Now, our faith in God's ability to redeem time transforms the way we view our past. We stop seeing it as a series of lost opportunities and start seeing it as the soil from which future growth can emerge. God is not interested in keeping us trapped in regret over wasted time. Instead, he invites us to trust that he can take those moments, however painful or disappointing, and use them for our good. In God's economy, no time is wasted. Every moment holds the potential for redemption. Faith in God's plan requires us to trust that his timing is far greater than our own understanding. It's easy to feel impatient when things don't unfold according to our expectations, especially when we feel as though we've lost valuable time. But faith isn't about having control over every detail of our lives. It's about trusting that God has a purpose for every season we go through, whether it's a time of struggle or of waiting. When we lean into faith, we acknowledge that God's plan is unfolding in ways we can't always see. His timing is perfect, and he orchestrates every moment of our lives with intentionality. It's often when we feel like we're at a standstill, or when things aren't moving as quickly as we'd like, that God is quietly preparing us for what's next. Trusting in God's process means believing that he is at work, even when the results aren't immediately visible. Faith doesn't demand that everything happens on our timetable. Instead, it allows us to rest in the assurance that God's ways are higher than our ways. He sees the bigger picture, and he knows what we need and when we need it. Our job is to remain faithful, to persevere, and to trust that in his time, he will make all things beautiful. God's plan is never delayed, even if it doesn't match our own sense of urgency. Faith is about surrendering our need to control time and trusting that God will reveal his purpose at just the right moment. Every setback we face in life has the potential to become the catalyst for growth. While it's natural to want to avoid pain and discomfort, These very experiences are often the ones that shape us the most. Setbacks, whether in our careers, relationships, or personal journeys, aren't necessarily signs of failure. They're opportunities for growth that God uses to refine us. God often uses challenging circumstances to build our character, resilience, and faith. These moments can be uncomfortable, but they teach us lessons that success and ease never could. Through struggle, we learn patience, perseverance, and the strength to overcome obstacles. We are reminded that we can't rely solely on our own strength, but must lean on God, who is our ultimate source of power and guidance. When we face setbacks, we can be confident that God is not abandoning us. Instead, He is using these moments to refine us, to stretch our faith, and to prepare us for greater things ahead. The Bible tells us that suffering produces perseverance, character, and hope. This means that even when we're in the middle of a setback, God is working behind the scenes to bring us to a place of greater strength and purpose. Setbacks are not the end of the road. They are opportunities to learn, grow, and become more like the person God intends for us to be. While we may not always understand the reasons behind the struggles we face, we can trust that each setback is an essential part of the process, and through it, we are being prepared for what's next in God's plan for our lives. Pain is an inevitable part of life, but it is never without purpose. We often view pain as something to be avoided at all costs, but it's in our most difficult and painful moments that we often experience the most profound growth. God uses pain to refine us, to shape our character, and to draw us closer to Him. What seems like a burden or a source of suffering is actually a tool in His hands, working for our ultimate good. When we go through pain, it can feel isolating. We might question why we have to endure such hardship, or wonder if there is any purpose behind it. But the reality is that pain is often a bridge to greater purpose. God doesn't waste our pain. Instead, He transforms it into something that can help us become who we are meant to be. Through our suffering, we learn empathy, resilience, and compassion. We discover depths of strength we didn't know we had, and realize that we are capable of enduring far more than we once believed. The Bible tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him, even the painful and difficult things. This means that no matter how deep the pain or how long the suffering, God is using it to prepare us for something greater. Pain has the ability to refine our character, to purge us of things that no longer serve us, and to make us more receptive to the blessings God has in store. In the midst of pain, we can trust that God is with us, shaping our hearts and minds for something bigger than what we can see in the moment. Our pain is not wasted. It is the very thing that leads us to a higher purpose. God's grace is an incredible gift that covers every part of our lives, even the parts we believe are too broken or too far gone. We are all human. And as such, we make mistakes, face failures, and fall short of the expectations we set for ourselves or that others place on us. But God's grace is not conditional on our perfection. It doesn't matter how far we think we've strayed. His grace is always available to restore us. And God's grace is always available to restore us. Grace is not just forgiveness. It's a complete transformation. It's God's unearned favor in our lives, not based on anything we can do to deserve it. When we feel that we've wasted time or missed opportunities, grace steps in and reminds us that God's love is not dependent on our past, but on His unchanging nature. Grace restores us, heals us, and empowers us to move forward. No matter how many mistakes we've made or how many years we think we've lost. God's grace takes our brokenness and turns it into something beautiful. It's the assurance that we are never too far gone for His love to reach us. When we face setbacks, regrets, or guilt over the past, God's grace covers it all. His mercy is greater than any mistake we could ever make. The good news is that grace doesn't just erase the past, it redeems it. It allows us to move forward with a new perspective, knowing that we are forgiven, loved, and accepted by God, no matter what we've been through. Healing is a process that takes time, and it's important to remember that restoration doesn't always happen overnight. We often expect quick fixes and instant results, especially when we're hurting or facing difficult circumstances. But God's healing work in our lives isn't about rushing through the pain. It's about allowing the time needed for true restoration. When we go through seasons of difficulty or loss, it's easy to become discouraged because we don't see immediate change. However, healing requires patience, and God understands that. Just as physical wounds need time to heal, emotional and spiritual wounds need space to recover. God's timing in this process is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our urgency. In the waiting, God is doing something deeper than we can see. He is working to mend our hearts, renew our minds, and restore our hope. This process of healing might feel slow, but it's essential for building lasting strength. If we rush through the healing, we miss the opportunity to grow in ways that only pain can bring. The journey of restoration may take time, but each step is part of the greater work God is doing in us. So that matters a lot. In the weeks that come before the journey ends, trusting in God's healing means surrendering to His timing, knowing that He will bring us to wholeness at the right moment. His ways are not our ways, and His healing process is not bound by our schedule. Even though the healing may take longer than we expect, we can trust that it will be thorough and complete. Through every moment of waiting, God is preparing us for the future He has in store for us. Resilience is one of the greatest gifts God gives us in the face of adversity. When life presents us with challenges, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or tempted to give up. But God uses these difficulties to build our inner strength and perseverance. Each trial we faced has the potential to shape us into stronger, more resilient individuals, equipped for the challenges ahead. Resilience doesn't mean that we won't experience moments of weakness or doubt. It means that we have the ability to rise again after each fall, to continue moving forward despite the obstacles in our way. God equips us with the strength to endure, even when the road seems impossible to navigate. Through each setback, we learn to trust in His power, which is made perfect in our weakness. Hello? The Bible speaks of perseverance producing character, and character producing hope. In the midst of hardship, resilience is what allows us to keep going, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. With each struggle, we become more deeply aware of our own limitations, but also of the boundless strength God provides. It's in these moments that our faith grows stronger and our reliance on God deepens. God doesn't leave us alone in our trials. He strengthens us through them. He uses adversity to build our resilience, shaping us into the people we were always meant to become. With God by our side, we can face anything with courage and confidence, knowing that the strength we need is always available to us, no matter how difficult the journey may seem. Forgiveness is a powerful force that can free us from the weight of past hurts and mistakes. When we hold on to anger, bitterness, or regret, we trap ourselves in a cycle of pain. Forgiving others and ourselves isn't just for the benefit of those we forgive. It's for our own healing. Holding on to unforgiveness creates barriers that prevent us from experiencing the fullness of God's restoration. God calls us to forgive because he knows that it is the key to freedom. When we forgive, we release the grip that past wounds have on our hearts, allowing God's peace to enter in. This doesn't mean that we forget the pain or deny the hurt we've experienced. It simply means that we choose to let go of the resentment and trust God to handle the justice. In forgiving, we trust that God will heal the brokenness within us and restore what was lost. Forgiveness also frees us from the burden of carrying guilt or shame. When we acknowledge our own mistakes and receive God's forgiveness, we open ourselves to his grace and healing. It's in this act of grace that we experience restoration, both in our relationship with God and in our relationships with others. Forgiveness isn't always easy, but it is essential for moving forward. It allows us to release the past and step into the future with a heart open to God's restoration. Through forgiveness, we break the chains that keep us bound to the past, and we make space for God's restorative work to take place. It is in this freedom that we experience the fullness of God's healing and restoration in our lives. Having a vision for the future is essential for moving beyond the past and embracing the restoration God has in store for us. When we've experienced pain, loss, or failure, it's easy to become focused on what went wrong and forget that there is still a bright future ahead. But God doesn't call us to look back in regret. He calls us to look forward with hope, knowing that he has a plan for us that is greater than anything we could imagine. A vision for the future gives us direction and purpose. It allows us to see beyond our current circumstances and believe that God is working for our good, even when we can't see the full picture. God's restoration isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about creating something new and beautiful from the ashes of the past. By focusing on the vision he has for our lives, we begin to step into that newness with faith and anticipation. This vision is rooted in the promises of God, who assures us that he will never leave us or forsake us. It's through his guidance that we find our true purpose and direction. When we trust in his plan and allow his vision for our lives to shape our decisions, we begin to move forward with confidence and clarity. God has promised to restore the years that the locusts have eaten, and his vision for us is one of hope, prosperity, and fulfillment. When we hold on to that vision and walk in faith, we are able to leave behind the past and look forward to the future with excitement and anticipation for what God will do next. Believing God's promise is the cornerstone of our faith. Throughout the Bible, God assures us that he is faithful to his word, and his promises are unchanging. When we face challenges, setbacks, or moments of doubt, we can cling to the truth that God's promises are always true, no matter our circumstances. God promises to restore, to heal, and to renew what was lost. And that promise holds true for every area of our lives. To believe in God's promise is to trust that he will do what he says he will do, even when it feels like time has been wasted or dreams have been deferred. His promises are not dependent on our timing or understanding, but on his perfect will and his perfect timing. He is faithful to fulfill his promises, and we can trust that he will restore every year, every moment, and every opportunity we think we've lost. When we believe in God's promise, we move forward with confidence, knowing that the best is yet to come. We can let go of regret and embrace the future with the assurance that God is working all things for our good. His promises provide hope in the midst of uncertainty and strength in the face of adversity. Believing in his promises isn't about ignoring the challenges of life. It's about trusting that he is bigger than those challenges and that his plan for us is greater than anything we could have imagined. No matter what we've been through or what we've lost, we can hold fast to the truth that God's promises are unshakable and he will restore everything in his perfect time. As we reflect on the journey of restoration, it becomes clear that God's work in our lives is far from finished. even when we feel like time has been wasted or opportunities have been lost. Each moment, no matter how painful or challenging, has the potential for redemption. God has the power to restore what has been broken, to heal what has been hurt, and to bring purpose to the most unexpected places. So what this basically entails is summarized in his words for our opportunities, which are a bit simpler than what the prophet wrote to the Roman Empire. We've learned that God doesn't waste any time. Every setback, every failure, every trial can be used for our growth, our strength, and our ultimate good. His grace covers our imperfections, and his healing takes place in his perfect time. Through resilience, forgiveness, and a renewed vision for the future, we can move forward in confidence, knowing that God's promises are unwavering. So today, let's choose to believe that God will restore our wasted years. Let's trust in his plan, his timing, and his ability to make all things new. The past does not define us, and the future is filled with endless possibilities. As we surrender to his restorative work, we can step boldly into the future, knowing that with God, no moment is ever truly wasted.